The story in Honkai Star Rail so far revolves around the adventures and journeys of the Trailblazers, a group of people who follow the path set out by the Eon of Trailblazing Akavili many years ago. For all intents and purposes, these Trailblazers, or better known as the Nameless, are the protagonists, and most of their members would choose to help others rather than just watch. But the universe is a big place, and for every hero, there will be those who pursue other paths. The Stellaron Hunters are one such faction. As it stands, they are in direct opposition with the Nameless, though their motives aren't really clear, and their actions seem to be completely random. So what exactly do the Stellaron Hunters want, and what do they ultimately aim to achieve? Before we get into that, if you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Given how new the game is, some of you might not be caught up in the story yet, so just as a warning, there will be some spoilers here. Not much is known about this rather enigmatic group. They seem to be made up of 5 members, each with a rather unique skill set. When we first meet them, true to their namesake, 2 of their members were in the process of stealing a Stellaron from the Herta space station. They of course succeed, and through some unknown means was able to implant the Stellaron into the main character. To the wider galaxy, the Stellaron Hunters are labeled as lunatics who travel the cosmos searching out Stellarons. Stellarons being seeds of destruction created by the Aeon Nanook that can completely decimate an entire planet makes them something most people would avoid, and why those searching for them are brandished as insane. To the general public, gossip and speculation abound with why they do this. Perhaps they just want to make money and sell these Stellarons to the highest bidder. Or maybe they want destruction for destruction's sake. But it's not until the 3rd location in the game do we learn a little bit more about their actual goals. During the quest on the Xianzhou Laofu, Kafka and another Stellaron hunter, Blade, were seen aboard the ship. Long story short, the Nameless managed to capture her, though this was intentional on her part and it led to her being interrogated. According to Kafka, the Stellaron hunters follow one man, Elio. Elio is said to have the ability to see the future, but more specifically, what he is able to do is see the many branching possibilities. It's likely that he can see the entirety of all possible outcomes, but won't know what ending will occur in the future. Even Welt himself has heard of this madman and claims that he has abilities similar to what Kafka explained. In the 2 occasions that we have met them, the actions of the hunters seem to be completely random, but Kafka then reveals that the Stellaron hunters aren't interested in just the Stellaron alone, despite their name. It seems that they are trying to bring about some kind of future that Elio has foreseen, and their actions are all in the pursuit of making this happen. The main character seems to be one of the key players of this particular future. Throughout their entire excursion in the Xianzhou Laofu, the Stellaron hunters took advantage of the panic and their reputation to ensure the involvement of the Nameless, and furthermore, make sure that the Xianzhou Alliance owes the main character a favor. They were basically setting him and the Nameless to be heroes. Supposedly, in most futures seen by Elio, the end of the universe is a common outcome. This unfortunate end is implied by Kafka to be brought forth by the Eon of Destruction, Nanook. She goes on to say that the future they pursue is one where this doesn't happen, and in the worst case scenario, the main character will have to face Nanook, presumably to stop this from happening. This is why they are setting him up to be a hero, so that the main character would have as much support from others should this future materialize. Now, whether we can trust what Kafka is saying is doubtful at best. She is a master manipulator and could be telling us the right things to move us along into the future that the hunters are really pursuing. In fact, according to her, she doesn't even really know the full story, as Elio selectively chooses what the hunters should and shouldn't know. After this bit of exposition, Kafka escapes along with Blade, and we are left with more questions than answers. Now suppose we choose to not trust Kafka. What could possibly be the future that they want to pursue? Well, I do have some ideas about this, but from here on out, they're mostly going to be theories, so just keep that in mind. Before Kafka escapes, she does talk about one other thing. She starts talking about the fact that the Eons can die, and that many have in the past. Immediately after she mentions this, it cuts to a scene of Luocha and Danheng speaking of the same thing, which narratively implies she is speaking the truth. She lists out the many Eons who have died in the past and who are now forgotten. Some have died mysteriously, while others were killed by other Eons. Paths also converge should they have overlapping commonalities, and Eons can be absorbed by others as well. On the surface, her conversation might be well timed. She did just talk about the main character having to face Nanook at some point in the future, and telling them gods can be killed just makes sense at this time. However, she mentions that after the deaths of some of these gods, the paths themselves are often left masterless. This brings me to my first guess. I think that the Stellaron hunters don't only want to kill Nanook, I think they want to replace him. Perhaps they wish to remove him from the path of destruction and instead place the main character upon it, someone they could possibly control. Now, why they would want to do this is beyond my ability to speculate at this point, but having an altruistic plan to save everyone seems off-brand for these supposed villains or anti-heroes. And yet, that's kind of the basis for the next theory. A lot of the lore so far sort of centers around these gods, but the Eons themselves are often just puppets of the paths they are on. Most of the Eons follow the values their paths are related to, almost unyieldingly and with a single-minded fervor unseen elsewhere. Some of these paths do have rather unfortunate end goals, with destruction looking to, well, destroy the universe, and abundance ultimately leading to an uncontrolled proliferation of life. So perhaps the Stellaron hunters wish to free all sentient beings from the curse that is these paths. Maybe by gaining control or removing Nanook, they are able to then wield the path of destruction as a catalyst for the destruction of all other paths, which then allows sentient creatures to no longer be bound by them. But again, these are just speculations. It could very well be that Kafka just told the truth, and the Stellaron hunters are more chaotic good, sacrificing a few to save the many and ensure that there is some form of future. Either way, this is something only time will be able to tell, and I hope that in the future we learn more about these groups' rather ominous plans. That does it for this video though. If you enjoyed it, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.